What's up, Sam? Yes, there you are.
Hey there.
To see you.
Good to see you too.
Boom.
Can you hear me? All
Yes.
good?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Um,
That's
Shoot,
it.
telling us that we have 40 minutes, but I paid for the premium one yesterday, so we had unlimited time. So hopefully it doesn't kick us off.
Oh, so you think we're going to speak more than 40 minutes?
40 minutes goes by in a blur. Haven't seen you for 2 years.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
where are you right now, Dustin?
I'm in a basement. I
No, I
need
mean,
some.
are you in the States
Yeah,
or
I'm in the States. Are you sitting outside your place?
yep, the one you haven't seen?
I recognize it.
I mean, last time, yeah, we were here, but just everything has changed now. It's very nice, lovely place now. Back then there was just the table, chairs, and the wall.
And some rubble.
Yep.
Look
Yeah, but
healthy.
I have other I have other plans regarding this place. I'm planning to have rooms, I mean hotel rooms here next year.
What do
So
you
I'm going to have a nice sitting area in the garden next year.
you still got plans for a pool?
Yes, but it's a lot of money, so not
Yeah,
not
of
not for
course.
now, not for the next year, but for sure, 100% in 2 3 years.
Nice.
I mean, I just prioritize things, and pool is very important, but that's not a priority at the moment. So I'm spending the money somewhere else, and I just get that money back.
Yeah, I got you. Um, well, I'm both happy and sad to see you. I can't, it's been 2 years and it was so easy to get on Zoom, but unfortunately,
Yeah, I know, I know, I know. Same here.
do you want to start by I just saw when I woke up this morning that there was a bunch of um protests outside of the, how do you pronounce it? Yereblur?
I was there, and I was detained. By the way, I came back like about an hour ago.
Okay. I wouldn't have blamed you if you wouldn't have been able to make this. But yeah, let's start with that because I just saw that when I woke up this morning. So what
Well,
was,
I was very concerned when I was there in police station. I was thinking maybe I won't I won't make it to here, but here I am. Yeah. Well, what happened in Yerablur, that was, you know, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, because they were beating the police were beating the parents of the martyred guys, the fallen guys, and they were there to. They didn't want the traitor prime minister to go there. And today is an Independence Day of Armenia,
Mhm.
and we used to have big celebrations. And uh, on a yearly basis, I mean every year, presidents, the officials all go to Yerablur, which is this military cemetery. But obviously, people do not want this prime minister to go there, because, and since we think, well, not that we think, we're sure that he's traitor and he's pro Turkey, and he was the one who provoked the war in 2020, and he was the one who handed over Shushi and other cities and villages. Well, we just think that we do not want him to be there, although he's in power, which is another thing that saddens me. I mean, it's 2 years since the war, but he's still in power. But anyways, we do not want him to go there, because this is sacred place for us. And of course, we wouldn't want the killer of these guys to go there. but there were just today early in the morning, there were just 15 to 20 parents there gathered in this military cemetery, but the police, there were hundreds of them, at least 250, I think. These are my calculations, but these calculations, I was there till 7 a.m. I was there since 2 a.m. and around 7 a.m. I was just arrested. So I do not know uh, were there only these 250 or they brought more. But parents, there were just 15 to 20 parents, and they detained, they beated the parents, they beat everyone who was trying to block the road, the entrance. And I don't know. Anyways, he could make it to there. They arrested everyone. The police arrested everyone, and around 9 a.m. he was there with the parliamentarians. From his party, from ruling party, the ministers and his supporters. But that's not the way, our previous presidents and prime ministers were going there. They were there with the security guards, just maybe like 10 or 20 people. But this one, Nikol Pashinyan, the prime minister, the traitor, the infamous prime minister, he's going there with more than 200 policemen and 50 security guards. And this is not the way the democratic, prime minister would go. And he's proud with the fact that he could bring democracy in Armenia. But the thing is that Armenia is more authoritarian. Well, I wouldn't even say authoritarian. This is dictatorship we live in now. You don't have the right to say this. You don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right to protest. The police is brutally beating you. This is dictatorship.
So I want to say, last time that we spoke, we met in Yerevan, and you had recently returned from fighting in the war in Artsakh. And you said just now that you believe that he had something to do with the provocation of this beginning of that. I think that's new to me. So can you explain what you mean when you say that he provoked the...
Well, not that I think or I believe. I am sure that he's the one responsible for that, because starting from the very beginning of his coming to power, his statements, his actions. He's the first prime minister, president. The head of a state who was in Artsakh, and during a campaign he said that Artsakh is Armenia. No previous president, prime minister, or official would say that, because that would hinder the process of negotiations, because that was not what Armenia was saying for the past almost 3 decades. Well, of course, everyone in Armenia understands that Artsakh is Armenia, but that's not what we say to the world, because there are these negotiations going on. And then in 2020 there were clashes in border here in Armenia, in the region of Tavush, which is bordering to Azerbaijan. And the clashes, they lasted just a couple days, 3, 4, I guess. I don't remember the exact number of days. But after that, he was, I personally call it humiliating Azeri military forces, because he was saying that they don't have army. Our army is this strong, that strong. We could do this, we could do that, we could do that. And he just his actions after those clashes, his statements, they were all provoking Azerbaijan. And in August of 2020, we here in Armenia, we were understanding that there's going to something is going to happen. Something is going to happen because the statements that Azerbaijan they were kind of creating the ground for attacking, and he was not doing anything. And when the war started on September 27th, he was not. He didn't. I mean, he left the 18-year-old guys, 20-year-old guys on front line, while there were many volunteers who were ready to go to front line, so the 18-year-old kids could come back, and they wouldn't participate in those military actions. And then there were opportunities to three times to stop the war, and that's something that even Vladimir Putin has said, that on October 19th, there was opportunity to stop the war, and if that happened, would be left Armenian. We just had to allow the so-called refugees, Azerbaijani refugees, to return to that city, and he refused that. And after that, we lost more than 2,000 soldiers. I mean, these last 10 days of October and then 10 days of November. And after that, in November, he said, right after the war, he said that we didn't need, that he thinks that we don't need sushi because the sushi was a sad city, and there were no investments in sushi. If we needed sushi, why we didn't do investments? And stuff like this. And on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, Pashinyan and his the parliamentarians from ruling party, from his party, were talking nonsense. Like, they were saying that this Lachin corridor, Berzor, is Azerbaijani, and they were saying, if we can use this, why don't we allow them to have this corridor, the what they want? And stuff like this. I mean, you cannot be pro-Armenian and say stuff like this, And after the war, once he said that we have this many casualties, plus minus 50. I mean, what is this? These were not just, bags of potatoes or something to say plus minus 50. Mm-hmm. These are people, these are individuals, they have families, they had lives, and stuff like this.
They couldn't find an exact count. So
and this is just like 10% what I said, and there's so many other things I don't remember right now, and there's so many others I remember, but I mean, we will need another 40 minutes for this. These people, he's just we even doubt that he's Armenian, I mean, you cannot be Armenian and behave like that. You cannot have a sense of homeland and behave like that, I mean, he's constantly talking about peace, bringing the peace era, and that's that's just he's trying to numb people by false peace building. This is not how it works, He's talking about peace. Meantime, Azeris are killing our soldiers on the border, invading. I mean, I for sure told you about the resort city Chermuk, which is 180 kilometers from Yerevan. This is one of the most popular resort cities of Armenia, and all year round there are tourists from all over the world. You know, this is sovereign territory of Armenia. This is not even Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh. This is Armenia's sovereign territory, and now we have Azeri troops there. You know.
Yes. So, yeah, I want to kind of first, can you just explain quickly or not quickly, just to lay the background so we can understand the difference between what happened in 2020 and what's going on now? So,
Well,
like, who's living in?
okay, I'll try to kind of give you a summary and prehistory in a plain language. All this started back in 1920s when the famous Stalin and Lenin Russians were decision makers in the region, and they just took historical Armenian lands and annexed to newly formed Azerbaijan because they had interests. And this was kind of complement for Turkey back then. And Azerbaijan has oil. So there were some agreements and there were interests. And they just annexed these historical Armenian land, Artsakh, to Azerbaijan. Let me note here that Armenians are the indigenous people of Artsakh. We've been living there for centuries and centuries. And when in back in 80s, the exact year is 1988. When the movement started, Armenians wanted to rejoin. The Soviet Union was about to collapse, and Artsakh was back then, Nagorno-Karabakh was an autonomous region in Soviet Azerbaijan, and the majority of population were Armenians, and Armenians in Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, wanted to rejoin Mother Armenia. So there was referendum, there was everything according to constitution. But Azeris didn't allow that to happen. So they started this Baku and Sumgait massacres. There hundreds of 100,000 Armenians were living in Baku and Sumgait. They started the massacres in these big cities, and they started the same in Artsakh. So the war lasted for a couple years, and Armenians won the war. So we could keep this region, Nagorno-Karabakh. Plus, we could have other regions which were buffer zone for us, and we were ready to negotiate the land. But Azerbaijan never agreed on anything. They wanted all, so they wanted the region. Well, of course, Armenia wouldn't allow that to happen because that's new genocide for Armenians living there. More than 100,000 Armenians living there. Azerbaijan has always had this genocidal policy towards Artsakh and Armenia. And to let me just quote for you what these prominent political figures have said about the Armenian cause, about the Armenians. In 2019, April of 2019, Erdogan, who is Turkish president now, said the relocation of the Armenians in eastern Anatolia was the most reasonable action that could be taken in such a period. He's talking about 1915, about genocide. For example, Eskander Hamidov, Azerbaijan's former Minister of Internal Affairs, has said in February 2016, the more Azerbaijanis kill Armenians, the fewer there will be of them. And then, for example, Safar Abiyev, Azerbaijan's defense minister, has said in August 2004, within the next 25 years, there will be no state of Armenia in the South Caucasus. These people have no right to live in this region. So what is this if not a genocidal policy? And the traitors here in Armenia, the treasonous regime is trying to just, as I said earlier, to numb people by false peace building. So this is basically the history, the prehistory. Everything started in 1920s when Russia, Lenin and Stalin they took and annexed Armenian region to Azerbaijan. Then these people wanted to rejoin to Mother Armenia, and that's when the war started. The war started, and Azeris lost it back in 1990s. And then we know what happened. Then there was 4-day war in 2016, and there was this 2020 44-day war. And Turkey was backing Azerbaijan back in 2020. So Armenians were not fighting with Azeris. So there were Azerbaijan, there were Turkey, there was Pakistan, and there were the Arab terrorists from Syria. And Armenia was alone. Well, of course we would lose. And there was this white phosphorus, cluster munitions, and you know what happened in 2020.
Yes. Armenia was left out to dry, and poor leadership, and now you're on the verge of it again. But so the reason I wanted you to bring up that history is because Artsakh is, as you said, it was an annexed area, and then it was handed over to Azerbaijan, and they fought the war. And when I read the news, I found 2 separate articles this week that both referred to the Armenian people living in Nagorno-Karabakh as Armenian separatists. What do you?
That's what Azerbaijan says. That's the propaganda.
They're just Armenian. Armenian people
since,
that have inhabited that area for thousands and thousands of years.
Thousands and thousands. Yes, you're right. Well, since Azerbaijan and Turkey are rich countries, they're winning this, information war as well. I mean, they bribe everyone in the world, So the news, I mean, TV channels, magazines, everywhere there is this Azeri and Turkish propaganda. Before 2018, we could somehow fight this. But since there is this treasonous regime now, and they came to power in 2018, now they do not even try, they do not even imitate to kind of balance this, and we're losing on that front as well.
And how did Pashinyan end up in power?
Well, he happens to be, in the right place, in the right time. People, including me, were thinking that we live in an authoritarian country, that human rights are being walked upon, and this and that, and we were fed up, and nepotism at its finest. That's what we were thinking in 2018, and people just said, enough is enough. And there was this president who was there for 2 terms, and he went for the 3rd, and this kind of triggered people, and everyone was outside on the streets in 2018, and we were thinking that we're bringing a change. But what happened was that we were just naive enough to believe that, that the previous regime was that bad, and this one is going to do something good. Though I was never a supporter of Pashinyan, but I think that whoever back then,
they're going to feel.
But it happened to be Pashinyan, and he came to power. That's how the previous president was ousted. People were fed up. And they just went on the streets to protest, and we brought this scarecrow to power, this agent of influence, and he's working for everyone except Armenia. He's pro-Turkic, pro-Russian, pro-Western, pro anything except being pro-Armenian.
Do you think that would have been the fate of any leader that came into power, considering the pressure and bullying from Turkey and
I don't think.
Azerbaijan.
I don't think. No, I really. I have never been a supporter of the previous president or the one before him, but I do think that they could, somehow maneuver, and there were negotiations, and well, I think that there was corruption, there were bad leaders, but I don't really think that they would ever want to hand over Artsakh that way. That's what I think, and I think that Nikol Pashinyan, he had a clear plan, and even before coming to power, I think that he was in touch with Turks and with West, and this was a clear plan, I think. And now I don't really think that there was revolution. There was this velvet revolution in 2018.
That's what they call it, huh?
That's what they call it. Yeah, that's what they call it. But we never saw neither revolution nor the velvet.
So I want to read you a quote from the Azerbaijani foreign ministry that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying a few minutes ago. And this is in response to when Nancy Pelosi made a visit to Armenia last week, which I believe she was the highest ranking US official to visit since
She was.
1991. But this is what they say in response to that. We regretfully emphasize that N. Pelosi, who speaks about justice, has not demonstrated any position regarding the policy of aggression by Armenia against Azerbaijan, occupation of Azerbaijan's territory for almost 30 years, the ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis, and other such serious crimes for which Armenia is responsible. That was from Azerbaijan's defense ministry, foreign ministry.
Well, that's what they're saying for the past 3 decades. But there is history, there are facts. I mean, in the first place, what do you do in Artsakh in general? I mean, this is historical Armenian land. Yes, at some points Armenians were weak enough not to be able to defend their rights. And everyone knows, that there are. I'm repeating myself. There is history. There are facts that Russians just took this region and annexed to Azerbaijan. If they just, that there was this heavy fist of Soviet Union, and there were no clashes, no skirmish. But at some point, of course, Armenians would want to rejoin to Mother Armenia, because when it comes to refugees, hundreds of thousands, well, there were more than 500,000 people living in Azerbaijan before 1991, including the family of my mother. They were living, my mom's aunts and uncles, they were living in the city of Kirovabad, which is in Azerbaijan, in the city of Baku, Sumgait. These are the big cities of Azerbaijan, and there were hundreds of thousands Armenians. And there is this northern region of Artsakh, which is under occupation since 1992. My mom is from that region. She's from the region of Shahumyan, which is northern Artsakh. And they left their house on June 13, 1992, with the hope that they will come back in a couple hours, which never happened. I mean, this is just a propaganda, This is the propaganda, and they could create history, and they're advertising it, and they're spending a lot of money on that. I don't really think I can add anything on this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got a notice from Zoom that our meeting's going to end in 10 minutes, so I may have to schedule another one. I purchased the upgrade for Pro yesterday, so obviously we need more than 10 more minutes here. I even got a payment
Yeah,
process.
I think so.
I'm
I
gonna.
think so. You know, there's this high level state sponsored hatred in Azerbaijan. We don't have it in Armenia.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too
Institutional
distracted here.
hostility.
If worse comes to worse, I'll just schedule us a new one. So I want to say that it's interesting to the Azerbaijan when you read it about it in the news. Typically, it's all about the energy that it can provide to the EU, the energy it can provide to Turkey. You see it connected with the West more and more in that way. But when you and Armenia does not have that same coverage because you're part of the CSTO, the so-called security alliance with Russia. So you have Russian ties. They're technically a economic and security ally. So you don't see Armenia covered in the same way as Azerbaijan. But everything that I've ever seen in the news or on Instagram is basically just heinous acts. Like I used to have a lot more. I used to be a lot more informed on all of this back in 2020, but you see curriculums in Azerbaijani schools where they're like openly advocating and teaching hate and wiping out of Armenian people.
Institutional hostility.
Sometimes you see, like when you're signing up for something and it says like click on all the pineapples, all the trees with pineapples. Recently I saw, and you might have shared it, it may have been someone else, might have been you, that was like click on all the pictures of dead Armenian soldiers or something like that. This is what I see coming out of Azerbaijan,
You know,
and then they make these comments like the foreign ministry here about all the horrible ethnic cleansing of Azerbaijanis by Armenias and by Armenians and on and on and on, and that's all you ever hear from them.
you know, um these heinous acts are the result of impunity for Azerbaijani war crimes. And as you said earlier, uh, at this point, Europe, West kind of depends on them, because there is this war in Ukraine, and they don't buy, they don't have this Russian gas, and Azerbaijan can be useful, and there are negotiations between West and Azerbaijan. And since Azerbaijan and Turkey see that West depends on them at this point, they just thought that they could take, this southern part of Armenia. And Azerbaijan keeps talking about ethnic cleansing and Azerbaijani refugees and stuff like that. But at this moment, this 3-day war we had a couple days ago, this was on Armenia's sovereign territory, the city of Yermuk, the city of, I don't know, Goris, Sisyan, Vardanis. This is Armenia's sovereign territory. And, rockets, they just hit the house directly. I mean, I'm talking what happened 3 days ago. They fall directly next to the houses. And it's confirmed that there is no military unit or establishment within kilometers of these houses.
And this is, and I also was going to touch on this way back towards the beginning of the conversation when I asked you to describe Nagorno-Karabakh. So what happened last week in the war in 2020, that was over this land, Artsakh, that's not technically. There's a lot of confusion. It's a
There is.
What's the name for it? Autonomous.
Let me interrupt you. And you'll just go ahead right away. the only big confusion I think that there is in the world regarding this war, I'm not calling this conflict, this war, is that the world sees this as a territorial conflict dispute. This is not that. This is an existential war for Armenians. This is if we if we put down the weapons, there will be genocide. Just another 1915. So the world sees it as territorial conflict. This is not territorial conflict. Armenians know very well the genocidal policy of Azeris and Turks. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the right to live in our lands. As I said earlier, Armenians are the indigenous people of Artsakh, which Azeris are not.
And this,
go ahead.
And this fighting that happened last week, those were on Armenian, on the country of Armenia, where there's no dispute. This is not a land thing or anything. Those were on proper sovereign Armenian lands, right? Which speaks to what you were just saying about the existential threat. So it's no longer even, because a lot of times it seemed like in the war in 2020, countries were hesitant to get in because it was like, well, let them figure it out. It's not like Russia invading a sovereign country of Ukraine. But now, what happened last week, those battles, like you said, in Jermuk, this is in basically undisputed.
But besides having this great Turan, they also damage Iran seriously, because the southern part of Armenia is vital both for Armenia and Iran, because Iran is connecting to Russia and Europe through Armenia, and Iran has clearly said that it won't spare any change of the borders.
Yes.
Now, I don't know you've read about this or not, but there are more than 40,000 Iranian troops near the border, this southern part of Armenia, and there are more than 40,000 Turkish troops near the Turkey-Armenia border, and there are these Azeri troops. So, we kind of, I mean, thinking people in Yerevan, we just sleep with the thought that we might not wake up the next morning, because everything is dead serious in the region. And the region, not only Armenia, but the region itself is, their transformations and their changes on a daily, weekly basis, and we don't know what might happen. So at this point, we just think that they might want to take it by force. I mean, the southern part of Armenia, and we think that Iran might intervene, because it has clearly said that it won't bear any changes of the border. And we're even thinking that Turkish troops might try to cut the rest of Armenia from the south, or we might have rockets here in Yerevan, or I don't know. Besides being important for Turkey or Iran, I think Armenia is very, very important for Russia as well, for West as well, America. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is the third person, right, in America. I mean, she wouldn't just come here to say that we value your democracy, and we're going to help you with that. She came here with clear messages, and we do understand also that America is kind of trying to take us from Russians. I mean, maybe this is not the right way to put it, but they're trying to take us from Russians at this point.
Geopolitical layman speak for yes. I think that's what I've been reading.
Yes, and Russia also needs to be in the region, and it has military base here in Armenia. It has its peacekeepers in Artsakh. But at this point, there and there is an anti-Russian movement in Yerevan, and people are not satisfied with what Russia does, with what this CSTO does. They don't react on anything. I mean, back in January, if I'm not mistaken, there was turmoil in Kazakhstan, and this CSTO acted, and they sent troops to Kazakhstan, including Armenian soldiers. But we saw that Azerbaijan attacked Armenia, and they're in our sovereign territory, and this organization didn't do anything. Of course, Armenians wouldn't want to stay there, but at this point, this might be fatal for us if we try not to continue with them, because whatever Russia has done to us, to Armenia, I mean, I personally think that this is nothing compared to what it still can do to Armenia if we try to not to continue with them.
Do you feel like you're on the verge? Is that impending? Are there ways to go about it? Because it seems any comment I ever read from any leader is always just, well, negotiations, but
which are not fruitful at all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem.
What I do think at this point, Dustin, is that, and it pains me to say that I do realize that my country, Armenia, is in the verge of losing sovereignty. I mean, it's a step away from becoming either Russian gubernia or Turkish vilayet, and I do not want any of those scenarios to happen, But we're on the verge of losing sovereignty because the internal political situation in Armenia is that people do not trust the parliamentarian opposition. People obviously do not trust the ruling regime, because this regime has constantly proven that it's treasonous one and pro-Turkic one. And we just don't, at this point, we don't have leaders. People like me who understand, who analyze, who think, who are concerned, we're in constant search of people who we can, believe and who we can act with and to do something. But I don't really think at this point, we have those figures. And I just really think that we kind of depend on, Armenia has, I'm just trying to put it correctly, Armenia has been, from an object, from a subject, Armenia has become an object. And we're not anywhere close to this negotiation table. Everything is, this is my personal opinion, that everything decides, their countries who decide: Russia, America, Iran, Turkey. So we don't have a voice. Plus, we have treasonous regime who is ready to open borders. I mean, this prime minister has constantly said that he wants to open borders with Turkey. What does this mean? This means the end of Armenia. If we are, you have been here, you have seen how small our country is and how resourceless and landlocked our country is. And we're a Christian country. And there is Turkey and Azerbaijan, our two neighbors. And there is Georgia on the north, which is, Turkey has already swallowed Georgia. I mean, Georgia's economy and everything, they depend on Turkey a lot. So obviously, it's not very friendly when it comes to helping Armenia. So can you just imagine what will happen if we open the borders with Turks? I mean, they have more than 80 million population, and we're just 2 million. They will come here. Within just 3 years, there will be a Turkish community in Yerevan. If there is community, obviously, they will want to open school. Obviously, they will want to open mosque. Obviously, they will want to be in parliament, right? And this is, I mean, within just couple years, they might be majority here. This is just this is white genocide. This is the end of Armenia.
What avenues do you see to prevent that? Like, what do you think is the most viable solution for Armenia right now? Do you think a run?
The very first thing that needs to be done is we need to get rid of this regime in Armenia. This regime is a treasonous regime, pro-Turkic regime, and it continuously proves that we need to get rid of them. And I mean, Armenian soldiers on the border, regardless, we don't have weapons and stuff. The spirit is always there. Everyone in Armenia knows that we can never have peace with Turks, and we were very happy before 2018. Our borders were closed. Yes, they were closed. Yes, maybe we were not the most democratic country in the world, but you know what? Who the hell needs this democracy?
If you don't have a country.
If this is democracy in Armenia right now, we don't need this democracy, because this is the I mean, if I was thinking back then that I live in a totalitarian country, I don't know what words to use to describe what is happening right now in Yerevan. I mean, the police might come after you just because of a Facebook post. And I have always had problems with that, you know.
I saw a picture from like 2016. You were being drugged around by the police.
Oh, I have many from 2022.
So I have a question about the police, like, and also the army. And I've seen some of your Facebook posts that you've been trying to figure out a way to contribute or to serve again, and it's not like you're finding walls and barriers preventing you, but also who are these, like who are the police? Are they not Armenians? Do they not feel the same way as you?
I
Are they just
seriously doubt.
doing their job? You know what I mean? Like,
That's what they call it. That's what they call it, doing a job. But I seriously doubt they're Armenian, and I seriously doubt that they're alert. I mean, we think that they're under some, you know. I mean, I think they take some pills or something, because the aggression we see and their behavior, I don't really think this is normal behavior. You know, the way they beat us, the way they treat us.
yeah,
They used to say that they do the job, but I mean, if you're serving, if the person is pro-Turkic, is traitor, and you're serving him, is this what you're supposed to do? And for example, the Minister of Defense in Armenia now is someone who doesn't have this, you know, military past. He's a teacher of history. But just because he's from the ruling party, just because he's someone who this traitor prime minister trusts, he is the head of this very serious, you know, ministry. I mean, I wanted to, when I woke up to war days ago, I wanted to go, you know, to frontline, and I've been there, you know it, from 2020. I wanted to go again, but then I said, hold on, Sam, where do you go? These are the people who who on a weekly basis like detaining you when you're protesting against something. These are the people who wanted to take you to military drills back in July. And you know, a lot of casualties are the guys who these authorities have taken for these military drills to Jarmuk. Till this day, we don't have the names of casualties, but we know that a lot of guys are the guys who have political views that that authorities don't like. And obviously my political views as well, the authorities, they don't like it. And I was called to go to participate in these military drills, 3-month military drills. And I could sense that something is going to happen in September. And I even have posted about this in Facebook.
Yes.
I mean, I just didn't, imagine that it's going to be at this large scale and it's going to include Jarmuk, I don't know, this Kapan, the whole southern part, and also Vardan is near the Lake Sevan. But this treasonous regime keeps calling it a skirmish, clash. This is war. I mean, the Azeri military soldiers abused an Armenian female soldier. They cut off her legs, fingers, took off her clothes. What is this if not war crime? And they keep calling it skirmish, clash.
Mm-hmm.
They don't call it aggression, war. And a lot of people like me, they want to go to front line, but just because we're afraid we won't be able even to reach there, they might do something.
Do you feel that many Armenians, and I want to ask you too, like, do you feel that there's a different pool of Armenians living in Yerevan as opposed to the rest of the country in Sevan or Gimri or Kapan or Sevan? And is the mood from a typical Armenian living in Yerevan? And basically, I'm saying that maybe they are a little bit more well off. Do you think they're disconnected from this and don't understand what's at stake, or do you feel
Well, that's I guess the most painful question I could get today. And the moods are different even in Yerevan, Dustin, let alone about the regions. I mean, I go to protests every day, and my neighbors who live here, or even my family members, they were asking me, why do I go? What happened? People are disconnected. Yes, they are. And people are media illiterate as well. That's another, issue, serious issue. I mean, they might read something that that a Pashinyan supporter is posting, and they might believe this. People do not like to analyze. They don't, and there's some people who just don't want to know anything. They don't want to read anything, and they just say we're not into politics. I mean, how you can say that? The moods are different even in Yerevan, let alone about the regions.
Yeah.
I mean, the village of Shurnukh, which is in the south of Armenia, as a result of 2020 war, half of this region, half of this village is under Azeri control. But when there were elections last year, I mean, Pashinyan had more than 50% of votes just because of electoral bribe, and I mean, using resources. I mean, he goes to villages, he gives them, for example, 10 kg rice, 10,000 AMD, and something else, and these people go and vote for him. This is serious issue. I mean, people in Yerevan, the majority of people, they didn't even take part in the elections last year. But the number who had chosen Pashinyan, this number was very small. But in the regions, oh my God, in the regions, I mean, he goes the same policy everywhere. 10 kg this, 10 kg that, 10,000 AMD, and these people vote for him. They don't even understand what is going on in the country, what is going on in the borders. and they don't understand in what situation we're right now, that they don't understand that we're on the verge of losing sovereignty, that we're becoming a gubernia or vilayet, or I don't know what. Yeah, the moods are very different, but even in Yerevan, let alone about the regions.
Is there any particular subset of people that make up the fighting force for Armenia? Like people that are aware and are like, fuck this, we need to, like, our country's at stake.
Couple thousand people, but Armenia is well, there is 1,300,000 Armenians living in Yerevan. But during protests, different kinds of protests, and I'm always there out on the streets, there's just a couple thousand people, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. Though, having this said, I should also say that days ago, 6 days ago, when Pashinyan said that he's ready to put that I'm just giving word for word translation. He said that he's ready to put that painful signature, which means he wants to hand over Artsakh.
Yeah,
the whole.
I saw that
And
too.
we at that time I was in front of Parliament. Dustin, within an hour, 40,000 Armenians came to protest. This is a huge number. 40, then at some point it became around 50,000, some estimates say. So people in general, they are against this regime. They're against Pashinyan's policy. And of course they are against handing over Artsakh. Because, people understand that we have moral obligation. We cannot and we should not ease up on the cause of protecting the rights of people in Artsakh, for the sake of blood of our fallen guys.
Right.
We should not do this. This is something that people understand. People they just don't see the proper leaders because they don't trust anyone. But not that they trust Pashinyan. Well, we cannot expect everyone to think the way we do. I mean, the ones who are
sure
always on the streets protesting. But the apathy and I mean, they just think that the situation is so desperate. But having this said, again, I'm repeating myself, this doesn't mean that they justify the actions of Pashinyan or they think that he should stay in power.
Will there be an election anytime soon? Or was there just one?
I hope no. I really hope no, because because I don't really know what will be the outcome of this election, but I really hope I'm sure he's not going to resign. He's not going to resign.
No.
There is no way he will resign. But I really hope there will be. I don't know. At this point, I'm even for a coup. But I don't know. I just think that that he's Pashinyan's political fathers and the West, the Russia, and everyone will just convince him to go, and this way we will get rid of him. I don't really know. I mean, I used to be really hopeful. At this point, not that I stopped fighting, but at this point, I also kind of realized that we're minority. The ones who are constantly fighting, we are minority. I don't know what will happen, but I really hope. I want to hope that he will just go.
Do you buy into the idea at all that it would, and you've brought this up a couple times as a possibility, that Russia may be waiting for some more serious crisis to be able to step in and intervene and essentially, I don't know, re-annex Armenia?
Well,
to make
I don't
Armenia
ex-
a Russian
I
state
don't
again?
I don't exclude any scenario, but at this point, not that Armenians want to be a part of Russia. Well, we don't want to be a part of Russia or Turkey or whatever, and there are serious anti-Russian moods, if we may say so, in Armenia. But the policy, the external policy that Russia has towards us, that's hostile one, I would say. I wouldn't call it. I mean, we're strategic. We're supposed to be strategic allies, but this alliance is only on paper. This
Right.
is only on paper. But I think, you know, these past couple days, there have been some changes, and I think that Russia understood that it's about to lose Armenia, which obviously it doesn't want to. But what is on Russia's mind? We don't really understand here, you know. We don't really understand.
Yeah, and
So,
Azerbaijan hasn't.
but I don't. Back to your question, I don't exclude any scenario.
I want to read you this other quote from Pashinyan that I have here from last Wednesday too, kind of speaking of what you brought up a few minutes ago about signing over. So said he told lawmakers in Armenia that he's ready to recognize Azerbaijan's territorial integrity in a future peace treaty, providing that it relinquishes control of areas in Armenia, which it seized last week, which is it was like 10 square kilometers or something in total.
Which is not 10.
But to trade that, so we want to sign a document for which many people will criticize and denounce us and call us traitors, and they may even decide to remove us from office. But we would be grateful if Armenia gets a lasting peace and security as a result. And that's his way of trying to rationalize his decision to sign away much, much, much larger swaths of land in Artsakh than the land that.
That's just that's his plan. That's what he wanted to do. I think that even in 2020, he wanted to hand over Artsakh. I mean, 100% of Artsakh, and I really think at that point back then, Russia just said enough. I'm coming, because it had its own interest in the region, not because it loves Armenians or it wanted to help. Had it wanted to help, it would help in the beginning of October 2020. It just didn't help back then. There's some people, who interpret it this way. They say that since Pashinyan is pro-Western, why would Russia want to help? Blah, blah, blah. But I don't agree with them, because even if he is pro-Western, which he is not, doesn't Russia see that people in Armenia, the majority of people do not support him, and the majority of people are not pro-Western? I mean, I don't know. And there is another, I think it's right to talk about this here. That there is a problem with Armenians, that they do not understand geographically where they are. People think that they're West, and people think that West likes them, West wants them, but they don't understand that this is Middle East. We need to have good relations with Arabs, with Iran. And in terms of, I think starting from mentality and many other things, we are Middle East. Maybe some of us look like very European or American, I don't know, blonde hair or light skin or something, or maybe they speak good languages or something, but this doesn't make us West. And they also need to understand that not that Russia is that friendly for us. That's a serious issue. That's a serious thing that needs to be worked on. I don't know if everything goes good, let's hope for that. I think political experts, psychologists, I don't know, people need to work with people. Professionals need to work with people to make them understand that brothers and sisters, we are in Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be strong. We need strong army. We need to be strong in all senses. This is my take on this.
So you would be grateful and happy to accept help and partnership from Iran.
I think so. At this point, I mean, I do understand that Iran has its own interests, you know. But if at this point, I mean, these interests are mutual and they can be helpful, why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
I mean,
certainly.
there were anti-Russian protests in Yerevan 2 days ago when Nancy Pelosi was here, and this is something I'm very against. I'm very against. You don't need to be anti this or anti that. You just need to figure out how to work with all of them, I think. And at this point, Iran is our natural ally. We have mutual interests. But I think Iran would, you know, I even think that at this point Iran would help us had it not been Pashinyan. Because no one trusts this guy. No one, literally, no one trusts this guy. Putin doesn't trust him. I think West doesn't trust him, regardless the statements they have that Armenia is a democratic country, and Nancy Pelosi said that the elections last year were fair here in Yerevan, and the democracy is this good and this and that and that. Of course, we don't agree with all these statements and words, but
It's a step in the right direction for American American interests, I guess. And also, I think it was like, was it April of this year or April of last year when Biden came into into presidency, and I think he was the first US president to ever officially recognize the
I
1915
think it was this year. It was this year,
genocide.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was
it was this.
in April this year. And he was the first president ever to publicly do that. And he got shit from Erdogan and all that nonsense. But I guess that was that's a big deal too. It's just words, but it's official. So
Yeah,
maybe there's a friend in the US, or maybe it's just geopolitics.
that's just geopolitics. I don't really think at this point Armenia has any friends. Well, I mean, France is trying to help, I see, and I see these nice and sweet words from the US, nothing else. At this point, words are not, we don't need words, we need weapons, and we need good leaders who would care for the country, who would be pro-Armenian. And, it saddened me to hear that Pelosi is praising Nikol Pashinyan. But maybe there's stuff I don't understand, and I don't know.
Sure.
But not that she doesn't know that he's traitor, and not that she doesn't know that how we treat him here in Armenia. If you're going to post this, maybe some parts of this talk somewhere, I will just be grateful, because I think that the world doesn't know about what is going on in this small, very beautiful, resourceless, and landlocked country. And if you're going to do that, I will be very grateful. And as I said earlier, I just want to say, to reaffirm that we have moral obligation. We should not and we cannot ease up on this. Is on the cause of protecting people in Artsakh, And I just want to, whoever you ever talk about this region, about Armenia, please, Dustin, tell the world that Artsakh is Armenian, and not that Armenians say this. There is history, there are facts, and this region has been annexed. And this is how all this started, and that Armenians are the indigenous people of Artsakh. And I just want to invite you. You need to see Armenia in summer, and we need to go to Jermuk together
Yes.
in summer. There is a lot to see. Last time you were here, it was winter, and it was right after the war.
Yep.
So you haven't seen Armenia, I would say.
See the other side of it someday.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully not soon. Maybe soon. When this stuff was going on last week, I was like, shit, I got to buy a plane ticket, go back.
Like you did last time.
But yeah, one day in the future, Armenia keeps coming up in my life. So thank you for.
I don't really, you know what I think, Dustin? I think that in a year, either there will be no Armenia or everything will be good, very good. That's I don't imagine anything in between, either or. But thank you. I had missed you, Dustin.
Yeah, this is fun to connect. I can't believe it's been 2 years. We stay in contact a little bit on social media and whatnot, but it's good to see you. You look healthy. You wouldn't know.
I do. I work out a lot.
Good. Running up and down the street.
Plus, my small business keeps going good.
Has it been busy for you, or was the summer busy for you?
Yep.
Nice.
I mean the house I could renovate with your help. I mean, Russian family lives there now. I mean, I had long-term contract with them. Very cool guys. Yep. That brings me money.
Good. What are you doing for work now?
I don't work now, unfortunately, but I'm busy with doing my driving license. I wanna buy a car and become a Uber driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I constantly have problems in workplaces.
Yeah.
So not because I'm bad, but because I respect myself.
Yes.
And that's not how they treat me, and I need people to treat me accordingly. I need decent salary. I need decent relationships. I mean, interpersonal relationships. But I mean, I was working in a hotel where I worked for 6 months, Dustin, and one nice morning, the brother of the owner came and he was like, "Can you make coffee for me?" I'm like, "What? I'm the night shift guy here. I'm not your coffee maker."
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically what happens, plus minus everywhere. So I just decided I'll just buy a car and I'll be my own boss. And next year I'm planning to build another 2 rooms. And again, I will have this on booking. Yep.
Good. We have a minute and a half left, dude. So thank you for coming on here and sharing all of your
Thank you, Dustin.
Opinions.
Thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward to sharing this, and hopefully some people will listen to it and get educated on this.
I'm very thankful, Dustin, that you're trying to spread the word and that you're still interested in Armenia. And yep.
It's hard not to be when I keep up with you, because you're obviously passionate about it, and if Armenia was in your hands, it would be in good hands. So
yeah, I plan, in years I'll be in politics for sure, because I need to bring a change. I look what we have now. I look at the politicians now, and I'm like, Sam, you need to be there. this is not the right thing they do.
Good. I look forward to the day. I'll campaign for you on this.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you I went for my master's degree, American Studies?
Yeah, I knew that you were spending some time. You're not doing that now, though, are you?
I know I don't. I don't, because I had, again, my political views. Yeah, but I'll continue.